morning and welcome to Morning Movie News, where today we have an entire episode about casting. 3 casting announcements and then a question about a recent casting that I brought up, Rooney Mara as Tiger Lily, and someone asking, I think, a somewhat controversial question about that I thought was worth discussing and reiterating. We've discussed it a little bit before. But anyway, first let's get on to our 3 casting announcements. And the first one is about, we have actually 2 Fox casting announcements today. And the first has to, both with big franchises for the studio, by the way. But the first one has to do with one of their X-Men properties, and that's the upcoming Gambit film. And that Lea Seydoux, the French actress who's in the upcoming Bond film and made a big splash in Blue is the Warmest Color, has won the role of Belladonna, Gambit's childhood love interest, who he becomes betrothed to try and bring the assassins and the Thieves Guild together. But then, of course, in classic Romeo and Juliet style, things don't go quite as planned. Although this is a much more proactive story than the Shakespearean one. Now, as we've been following this story for a while because they were testing 3 actresses for it. The blonde actress from Mad Max Fury Road, who played one of Immortan Joe's wives. She was in the running. Then Rebecca Ferguson from The White Queen, which I actually just finished, by the way. So many of you said it was a good show, and I enjoyed her performance so much in Mission Impossible Rogue Nation that I decided to watch it. I thought she was very good in the show. It's a very good show just in general. I actually highly recommend it. It's the end of summer right now. Not a lot of movies or TV going on. We're kind of like in a holding pattern, and that's 10 hours of great content right there. It's available on iTunes. I'll actually put a link down below in the video description. But Rebecca Ferguson, while she was testing, and I think she was probably a front runner, she decided to take herself out of consideration to go star in this movie, The Girl on the Train, which is going to also star Emily Blunt. So that seems like not such a fantastic project in terms of box office potential, because as we all know, Emily Blunt is unfortunately still box office poison. Maybe she'll change, maybe she'll turn things around eventually, but so far, I think that starring in a film with Emily Blunt is a risky endeavor indeed. So, but we'll see if maybe Rebecca Ferguson, maybe she wants all the glory and she's going to try and elevate that production. We'll see. So that's like a mystery thriller. So anyway, Lea Seydoux is the last one standing, and certainly a bigger name than the actress from Mad Max Fury Road. So Fox has made her the offer. She hasn't quite accepted yet, but it's hers for the taking, and I can't imagine that she wouldn't. And I think this is absolutely wonderful. When the 3 actresses, the short list first broke, this was my pick. This is who I said would be a good choice for the role, and it's very rewarding and unusual to see, particularly a blockbuster film, come together like this so perfectly, that you get an actress that's so perfect for the role. And Channing Tatum is, I think, excellent for his role. So I'm very, very excited about the Gambit film, which comes out next year, and they start filming, of course, in October. So we should get hopefully some on-set photos soon. So I think this is very exciting to see that picture come together. And I was also surprised in the industry trades when they covered this. I saw some comments down below on those articles, and you had someone going, "Oh, great, another award-winning actress stuck playing the girlfriend role to some male actor. Oh, good job, Hollywood." And I was like, I think you should look into the character more before you make such a comment, because the role of Belladonna is a great role. It's a juicy role. It's a very important role to the Gambit story, and it's more than just a damsel in distress. Rogue is, although to be fair, Rogue isn't supposed to be a damsel in distress either, but yet that's how the X-Men movies have frustratingly portrayed her. But Chris Claremont, helped write the script for this upcoming Gambit film. He obviously very in tune with the character, has written many Gambit stories. I actually believe he invented the character, and so you're going to probably see something a little bit more true to the comics this time around, which is also very exciting. But Belladonna is such a wonderful character in that she is the leader of the Assassins Guild, and she also has mutant powers, and she is, no small obstacle for Remy LeBeau when they meet up later in life after a tragedy has, pulled them apart. So it's a wonderful character, I think a really good role, a powerful role, both literally with powers, physical mutant powers, but then also, someone who runs her clan. So I think it's a great role. I think Lea Seydoux really lucked out here, and this is a wonderful wonderful opportunity for her. In the Gambit picture, it just looks better and better, which is very exciting because I haven't been so happy with the Wolverine movies, and of course, Fox is hoping that Channing Tatum will become the new big draw for their X-Men movies since Hugh Jackman is wrapping up his run. All right, so that's the first story of the day, and I guess the only question that's left is whether or not Lea will sport the Belladonna braids. But I'm curious if you think this casting is on point as I do. How do you think the Gambit picture is coming together? And what do you think of those comments about the female role here? Do you think they're accurate, or do you agree with me that Belladonna is a really juicy, good role for someone to land? And also, I guess, do you think Rebecca Ferguson made a mistake? I think she would be miscast in the role, but I just don't like the project that she ended up going to. I think, it was a lose-lose situation for her, unfortunately. But I guess at the end of the day, you just want to keep working, which is going to be a situation with our third story. You just want to keep working, and sometimes that means you have to take roles that aren't so great, but you just want to make sure you stay on people's radar. So I guess to some degree, that's what she's doing. She wanted to land a role quickly off of the buzz of Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, and this was the best one that she had in the running. So the second story of the day is about War of the Planet of the Apes, which is set to hit theaters in 2017. And they're circling, again, this isn't a done deal, just like the Lea Seydoux one for Gambit, but they're circling an actor to take on one of the lead human roles. And that's a newcomer, a Latino actor, Gabriel Chavarria. And he's a really hot up-and-coming talent. And I think it's very interesting to bring this level of diversity in such a prominent role to this franchise. I think that could be very exciting. And for those of you looking to see more diversity in films beyond the Fast and Furious franchise, right here is a prime example. So who is Gabriel Chavarria? Why is he on Hollywood's radar? Well, he is a series regular on Hulu's East Los High. Not a lot of Latino actors, unfortunately, in Hollywood. Michael Pena gets the majority of the roles. He's really the only named talent. Also, Demian Bichir, as you're about to see, but Demian Bichir certainly isn't mainstream. But anyway, the way Hollywood works is they go, okay, well, we want some Latino actors, right? And there's a very small talent pool. We don't really want to discover anyone. We want someone who has some level of success already attached to them, right? So they go, who is a Latino actor working right now? And that's how Gabriel Chavarria, on a Hulu show, I've seen some websites, even just call it a television show, but it's not, it's a streaming show, they'll say, well, how about East Los High? And this guy, he already has fans. We can point to something that he's done already. Let's consider him. So it's interesting to see how the Hollywood machine works. So Gabriel Chavarria, he's on Hulu's East Los High, and he also was in A Better Life, which you might recall from a couple of years ago, which really put Demian Bichir on Hollywood's radar. He was nominated for his work there, and so he had a supporting role in that film, A Better Life. But he didn't really get anything off of it too much, except, I guess, East Los High, right? They're underlining the importance of just continuing to work. But then he's landed a role in Universal's upcoming Lowriders, which is apparently a hot ticket. And this is supposed to be a film that really gets into the Los Angeles Latino community, and people are taking it very seriously. Just like you saw Straight Outta Compton really get into the African American community in Los Angeles, and you've seen similar trying to have outreach films. Apparently, Lowriders is the Latino version of those movies. So Universal feels very confident with this. It also stars Demian Bichir and then Gabriel Chavarria. But it's such a hot ticket that now other people are looking to sign Gabriel Chavarria before Lowriders comes out in 2016, and his price tag goes up. He's so hot that this isn't even, as you know, Apes is a Fox film, so it's not like Universal is like, okay, let's try and get some momentum going for one of our upcoming actors. Let's sign him onto some other films, make him look really good. No, another studio came in and took him. That's how hot this guy is. And Matt Reeves is returning to direct, and it's, again, tentatively called War of the Planet of the Apes. And Andy Serkis, of course, will return. My big problem is that Rick Jaff and Amanda Silver are not returning this time. They're phased out. They're really working largely on the Avatar sequels right now, and they wrote the first Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and then they worked on Rise of the Planet of the Apes, but found themselves rewritten. And I thought that script wasn't as good as the first movie. So I think it's really unfortunate that Rick Jaff and Amanda Silver have not stayed with this. Who knows what's going on behind the scenes, but I think it's the movie's loss. I think it's the Apes franchise's loss, because there's not only good screenwriters, but they're such good science screenwriters. They wrote The Relic from back in the day, and of course James Cameron, scooped them up for his Avatar movie. movies. So I guess that makes Avatar in a little bit of a better position, which I think many of us would welcome. So anyway, that's the second story of the day. And I'm curious, what do you think of this diversity? Do you think that is anyone familiar with Gabriel Chavarria's work? Does anyone watch East Los High? Is he a good actor? And, do you think that he's getting on a sinking ship? But I mean, still, to have such a large role in such a large franchise will help him, even if the movie turns out not to be so great. And do you worry about the third Planet of the Apes film, considering that Rick Jaff and Amanda Silver are no longer helping to script that franchise? All right, now for the third story of the day. Now, we talk about diversity and Gabriel Chavarria potentially getting a lead role in a major franchise, but what about poor Daniel Bruhl and other German actors who are continually stuck playing Nazis? Daniel Bruhl did such a fantastic job in Rush, the racing pick from Ron Howard that co-starred Chris Hemsworth, that I think it's just absolutely criminal that this guy doesn't get better work. And he just continues, all he's getting are Nazi work. He's playing a Nazi for Marvel. He's Baron Zemo in the upcoming Captain America Civil War. And now he's just landed another Nazi role. And of course, Nazis are, not ever good guys, right? I mean, it's never like a sympathetic tale told from the perspective of a reluctant Nazi. They're Nazis. So the fact, we always try, and Germany has worked very hard to get past, its two World War reputation. But how are they going to do that if the rest of the world continues to be like, do word association and be like, German, Nazi? And Daniel Bruhl is a fantastic actor who I just feel deserves better. So what's this project? Well, it's called The Zookeeper's Wife. There's The Ambassador's Wife coming up with Anne Hathaway as a TV miniseries. But anyway, the Zookeeper's Wife, who doesn't even need a name. She's just the wife of the zookeeper. Talk about, female representation in roles. But anyway, Jessica Chastain is starring, although I have to say I've seen so many small Jessica Chastain movies that never really quite come together, I'm getting a little tired of it. But anyway, she's going to star as the zookeeper's wife, and they ran a zoo in Warsaw, the Warsaw Zoo, the main city zoo, which of course is in Poland. And when the Nazis occupied Poland and they created the Warsaw Ghetto, these two zookeepers helped smuggle out 300 Jewish people through the zoo. So I'm not quite sure how they did that. We'll obviously have to see the movie. So who is Daniel Bruhl playing? Is he the zookeeper? No, of course not. He's the evil Nazi. So apparently they had a Nazi come in to oversee the zoo, and he first falls in love with Jessica Chastain's character, but then of course when she's like, ooh, you're a Nazi, he starts to terrorize her. So you're like, oh, Daniel Bruhl, do you really have to do this? I feel so bad for you. You're such a fantastic, wonderful actor. I think you deserve better than this. Not to mention, it's not even unique, as this really reminds me very strongly of Ralph Fiennes' role in Schindler's List, which was also about helping Jewish people escape from World War II Europe. So this seems like really derivative to me. It sounds like another Jessica Chastain clunker, and I just feel bad that Daniel Bruhl has been sucked into this. And I think it's unfortunate that, Thomas Kretschmann, who's also a German actor who played Baron von Strucker, another Marvel Nazi, and ends up playing Nazis in a lot of American movies. He was also an evil guy in Hitman Agent 47. That's another German actor who's stuck playing Nazis. So I'm curious, do you also feel sympathetic for the German actor, or are you like, whatever, get in line, there's bad representation for everyone? And also, just playing Daniel Bruhl, are you a fan of his work off of Rush? And what do you think of the fact that this is the only stuff that he can get off of that movie? Comic book Nazis and real life Nazis. All right, so those are the three casting announcements of the day. Let's go on to this viewer question. And please be polite to Christian Rauch. I mean, I think that while his viewpoint is controversial, he wanted to get this he wanted to have a conversation about this. So I know that this is going to annoy some people, this question. But I'm also bringing it up because sometimes people, I have a few people over on Movie Math yesterday who are like, oh, you're implying that people feel a certain way when they don't. You're saying everyone's a racist and a homophobe, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm like, no, if you look at the comment section, you'll see, that this is very much like a true situation. How, not that Christian Rauch is a racist or a homophobe, obviously, but, people feel this way. And I think that if you don't acknowledge different viewpoints, you're going to be living in a bubble, right? It might be a really pleasant bubble, but a bubble nonetheless. And I personally like to know what's actually going on around me. So this is Christian's question. So I hope everyone's very civil about it. So Christian says, hey Grace, quick question that I was hoping you would answer on Morning Movie News. You always discuss diversity in movies, which I'm all for. However, when you talk about certain characters being whitewashed, such as Tiger Lily in the up-and-coming Pan film, or even when you say a cast is not diverse enough, I don't think that's necessarily a fair comment to make. I personally feel that if an actor is truly right for a role and personifies that character perfectly, then that person deserves the part despite their race. Now, I would understand this complaint for an actor who's portraying a real-life individual, like, for instance, I wouldn't want Channing Tatum as Martin Luther King Jr., or even the historical fiction, such as whitewashing the cast of Exodus Gods and Kings. But I don't really see why it's such a big deal for a character from fictional stories such as Pan, where the characters are all made up and live in a made-up world. Well, let me explain this to you, Christian, and I think you're mistaken on this. And again, very polite conversation, and I hope that everyone follows suit on this. It's just we're having a nice, polite conversation. So the thing is that Rooney Mara cannot embody Tiger Lily perfectly, because Tiger Lily is a Native American princess, right? I mean, that's the character. It's not like someone along the lines decided to cast that role as a different race. It's written to be a Native American princess, right? And I've seen some people argue that it's not actually how J.M. Barrie originally intended it, but it's how the character has morphed over time and has been portrayed as such in every single incarnation of the story. So Tiger Lily is a Native American. So you can't personify that character if you were white. It's not possible, okay? It's like, for instance, if you wanted to make Cyborg, a black character in comic books, white. That's not the character. Even if you were like, but he's a Victor Stone in every other shape and form. He's a great, football player. He's really good with technology. Why can't he play Victor Stone? And you go, because Victor Stone is black. And I have a little, I think it's risky changing the race of characters in either direction, but I was a little worried about it with Deadshot, as I discussed, Will Smith being cast in the role, but they're winning me over with the more I see of Will Smith's performance there. But also with Fantastic Four, I was in favor of that change, changing the ethnicity of Johnny Storm, because that franchise isn't working. That comic book property isn't working. So I think something needs to be done to shake things up. So if something's like DOA or Dead in the Water, you can totally make changes that are necessary. And I'm fine with Perry White. Also, a character became, really boring, one note, and I think that Lawrence Fishburne casting him shakes things up, makes it a little more real, makes people pay attention to that character again. So that's when that's okay. But Tiger Lily, it's inherent to her. And also, one of the problems with changing things, minority characters, well, actually, the minority is a misnomer at this point, non-white characters, because of course populations are surging to such a degree that really nobody's a minority anymore, right? They're just different pockets in different areas. And often everyone's mixed. So anyway, changing a non-white character to a white character is particularly problematic. A non-white character to a white actor is problematic because there are so few. So I think that's a big problem. I would also like to point out, as I see many people point out in the comments, but I wanted to mention it here in the main forum so that more people can discuss it, is that why is this never an issue with the white characters, right? I mean, Christian, I would ask you this honestly. Could we then change the ethnicity of Peter Pan? If I find a black, Latino, or Asian actor who perfectly embodies Peter Pan, would you be okay with my changing Pan and casting an actor in such a role, right? Would that be okay? And if you say yes, well, then everything's fine, right? Although I think that you said you're for diversity in movies, yet you say it's not fair to say a cast isn't diverse enough, right? I think that's really ridiculous to say, especially when you take into account secondary roles or roles that need to be shaken up, as I just noted, and to say that there's not a single non-white actor who embodies that. I mean, there's more overlap between us than I think some people realize, right? I mean, sometimes the main difference is just in physical appearance. And often just in terms of and even that, because in terms of physicality, there's a lot of similarities often. That's not ethnic specific. So, and also James Bond. Look how many people got upset with the idea of changing the ethnicity of James Bond. For Idris Elba. And it's like, well, why not? That's a fictional character. Why couldn't the ethnicity of that character be changed? And some people say, well, Bond's inherently British. Well, so is Idris Elba. He's British. So he perfectly embodies James Bond. So if you have a problem with that, how can you turn around and say that Tiger Lily isn't a problem? I honestly feel that this kind of argument is coming from a situation of people who want to hold the line and don't want to see, Christian, I hope that your intentions are pure, but I just find it very hard to understand why that you feel this way. And I would ask you, how do you feel about Johnny Storm? Were you okay with Johnny Storm? Because Michael B. Jordan perfectly personified the Johnny Storm character. He just happened to be black. And would you be open to an Idris Elba James Bond, considering Idris Elba perfectly personifies James Bond, except for his skin color? I do think that the Rooney Mara situation is going to torpedo that movie. I stand by that assessment. I think that that movie is dead in the water because of that casting decision, which is a real shame because I think the movie otherwise looks so good. But I think that you're having a situation where more and more non-white audiences are saying, you know, enough is enough already, and I'm not going to patronize your, I'm not going to pay for your movie if you're going to continue to do this to me. Just like you saw with Exodus, Gods and Kings. People had such a big problem with the whitewashing there that it really hurt the film. And I think that the same fate will befall Pan. All right. So that's today's morning movie news. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I look forward to hearing your thoughts down below on today's top 3 stories and that viewer question. And let me know anything you'd like to see covered tomorrow and any questions that you might have. Thanks for watching. Bye.